Today, what I'm going to be going over is a whole bunch of just algebra problems solving distribution variables on both sides, and you might see some of these questions on your homework. So let's go ahead and just jump right in. We're going to start with this problem that you see here, which is 3 parentheses 5y plus 3 equals 39, and we're going to be solving for the y variable. So the first thing we're going to do is to get rid of these parentheses, we are going to distribute. So 3 times 5y is 15y, and then 3 times 3 is 9, so plus 9 equal sign 39. I'll try and turn this down. It's a little bit easier. Can't decide if I want to be completely out of this or what. I have my face speed there just a little bit, just so I look like a ghost in the background. Now we're going to, and this is usually where we could split these up, and anything we do on one side we have to do on the other one. I want to get the y value by itself, so we're going to do backwards PEMDAS, whereas it usually says 15 times y plus 9. We're going to do the opposite. We're going to subtract and then divide. So I will start by subtracting 9 on both sides. This is going to leave me with 15y equals, and then 39 minus 9 is 30. This should all be very simple review, and then we divide. So y is equal to 2. Pretty easy there. All we had to do was distribute, subtract, divide. Pretty easy warm-up, I would think. So let's go ahead and just jump right into the next one. No time like the present. So let's go ahead and just jump right into the next one. Let's turn up the heat a little bit. Let's do a variable on both sides. Trying to see, there's my square. I have a square on my screen so I know right where the problem needs to be. So there we go. What I'm seeing here is I see two variables. We have a negative 13 here. There's a variable here. There's also a variable here. We need to move one of them first. Luckily, we don't have any parentheses, so there's no reason to distribute. So we can go ahead and, in our first step, go and split this right down the middle. Anything we do on one side of this line, we have to do on the other side of the line. Okay. Excuse me. We can either start by adding 13 to both sides, or we can add 8 to both sides. I am going to start by adding 13. And there's a reason why I choose to add 13x to both sides first. That reason is I'll have a positive number here, but if I were to add 8, I'd still have a negative. We really want to avoid negative numbers if we can. So it's going to leave me with 8 equals. Negative 8 and positive 13 are going to make 5x minus 7. And now we're just where we were in the last problem where we had a two-step here. So now we're going to add the 7. Just trying to get the x by itself. We're going to add the 7. So it's going to give me 15 equals 5x. These cancel. And then finally, our last step, once again, is to divide by the 5. So 3 is x. Pretty easy there. Just some basic algebra. I did notice that on our mock star that we did not do too well with the algebra section. So that's one of the first things we're going to do this review. I added 13 to both sides. I could have added 8, but we would have had a negative number here, and that might have made our steps a little more difficult. And then I moved everything away from the x. Now that I had the x on one side, I could move everything away from it, so I added 7 and then divided. Let's do the next one. Get rid of all this. And I erased my box, of course. Okay. Here is our next one. And before I can do anything, I do need to distribute. Let's make that nice and big there. Put it up here. So before I can do anything, I have a 6 that needs to be distributed. And a negative 7 that's going to need to be distributed. Let's start on this side. We're going to have 6 times x is 6x. 6 times negative 7 is negative 42. Equal sign. Negative 7 times x is negative 7x. And then negative 7 times negative 7 is positive 49. And now we do have variables on both sides. I can split this. Anything I do on one side, I'll do on the other. I see we have a 6x and a 7x. I could subtract 6x. That'd give me a negative 13 here. Or I can add 7x, giving me a positive 13 here. So we'll have 6 plus 7 is 13. Notice I put the x's right in line. I'm putting them right on top of each other. So 13x minus 42, wonky 4 there, equals just positive 49. And I want to get this x still by itself. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add that 42 to both sides. Let's see if I can do this in my head. 13x equals, that's 11, 8, 91? Am I doing this right? It would appear so. I might need a calculator for the rest of this. And then we'll divide by 13. Should hope this goes in evenly. 7. 7, there we go. Yeah, 91 divided by 13 is going to be 7. And we are done with that one. I kind of lost. Oh, you can't see it. It's down there. It's down here. It says x equals 7. I didn't realize that's not on the screen. But I promise right here it says x equals 7. There you go. So we had to do the double distribution. Then we had variables on both sides. So we moved one of them over. I added 7 to both sides. And then we moved the extra number to the other side. And then we divided. Pretty not easy there. But let's turn up the heat one more time. We got one more big bad problem to do. And then the rest of your homework, at least the first section of your homework, is a lot of graphing. Do you remember the parts of the graph? And you do get a couple attempts at it. So let's do our next one. Make that small. Make this one here. All right, let's try and use the whole screen this time. So I do see we once again do have a double distribution. So we will need to start this off by distributing it to way too far down here. There's the 2. And we have over here 5 that is going to need to be distributed. Let's start here. 2 times 4 is 80. Move that down some. Why actually move this? Forget it. 2 times 4 is 80. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10p, equal sign. Nothing is happening with this 10p. Nothing happens here. Nothing's happening, so that's just going to drop down. 5 times 1 is a positive 5, and then 5 times negative p is negative 5p. Now, before we can continue, I do need to combine these two terms. I have like terms here. They're on the same side of the equal sign. There's no parentheses. 10 minus 5, I can combine these. So that'll give me 5p. 10 minus 5 is 5, plus 5. This just dropped down. Equal sign here. 80 minus 10p. Now, we're here. I see variables on both sides of the equal sign. So I'm going to start by adding. Let's go ahead and do a little split here. Oh, you can't see. I'm using the wrong marker. There we go. Split it. I'm going to start by adding 10. You could subtract 5. You would get the right answer. It just might be a little more difficult when you have that many negatives. Cancel. So we have 80 equals 10 plus 5 is 15p plus 5. And we're almost done here. I want to get the p by itself. We're 2 steps away. I am going to subtract the 5 this time. 80 minus 5 is 75, equal sign, that 15p. Is that canceled? And finally, we'll divide, and I'm out of room. 75 divided by 15 is 5. So I'm over here. P equals 5. A little darker. P is 5. That's my answer there. Okay, so once again, we did the double distribution. I did a distribution here and a distribution here. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times negative p is negative 5p. Combine these two terms. We had the same thing on the same side, so we can't just combine it. If it was 2 regular numbers, we can combine those two. So 10 minus 5 is 5. And then we have variables on both sides, so I moved this 10 over by adding it. 5 plus 10 is 15. Move this 5 over by subtract. We're trying to get this by itself, and then divide. P is 5. There's one more I want to show you. If you made it all the way to the end, I'm going to give you an answer here. One more in this video. I am hungry. Time for lunch. The last one I want to do is this one right here. Now on your homework, I did most of the work. I just want the sign. So one of the things I want to remind you of is what happens when we divide by a negative. So for this one, we're just solving for the y value. I want to get the y value by itself. The way I would get the y value by itself is by dividing by everything by negative 2. Well, that's not where I want to put that line. Put it down here. I want to divide everything by a negative 2. Okay, so here that just cancels. So I'm left with y. 4 divided by negative 2 is negative 2, and we'll keep the x. 10 divided by negative 2 is negative 5. But here's the thing I want you to remember. When we divide the entire equation by a negative, we take the inequality and we flip it around. It's the weird rule. When we divide by a negative, we flip that inequality. It's the only time the inequality flips. So in your homework, I think this is what you need to put your answer as, because this was all here. I want you to know that you need to flip that sign. So there you go. You can now do your first homework, which I think is called Equations and Inequalities. I hope you all have a great day. I'll be posting the next one very, very, very soon. I have to make the video. So I hope you all have a great day. Don't forget to email me if you have any questions. Bye-bye now.